Hey, it's Mark Learning with your video thought for the day. So this week I've been looking at lessons from the life of King David, and I've discovered something. 5 video thoughts for the week from the life of King David. I think I could do another 15. Don't worry, I'm not going to do that next week. I've got a new series planned, but I do plan on returning back to David because we haven't exhausted the material, not even close. Let me tell you what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about a unique time in David's life that's shown in 2 Samuel, the 13th chapter, right about there. This is a time where David has committed just horrible sin with Bathsheba. Now let's recall what happened. Here's David. He's the king of Israel. He's got concubines. He's got wealth. He's got an army at his disposal. And he sends his army out to fight, and he doesn't go with them. Instead, he stays back in Jerusalem, kind of fiddling around. And while his army's out there risking their life, David goes out and sees on a neighboring roof Bathsheba bathing. And David is filled with lust for her, calls her to him, and commits adultery because Bathsheba is married. Her husband's fighting the battles that David should be fighting. He's in the army. Well, Bathsheba gets pregnant, and David wants to hide the pregnancy and not show it's him. Well, the problem is, how did she get pregnant when her husband's away? So David sends for the husband to come back. The husband comes back. David says, hey, I'm giving you, I've called you back. Take the night off and go spend it with your wife. And the husband says, how can I have a night's pleasure with my wife when my comrades in arms are putting their lives on the line? The nobility of Bathsheba's husband is profound. But David is so blinded by trying to cover his own tracks that instead of confessing, instead of dealing with this problem as he should, David ultimately has Uriah, the husband, killed, for lack of a better way of saying it. David sends a message back and tells the general, charge the walls and then call everybody to retreat and leave Uriah there to die, which happens. And then David takes Bathsheba as his wife. Now, what happens next is the crux of the story, and the way I want to tell it right now. There was a prophet named Nathan. Nathan means, the Hebrew word Natan is gift. And he was a gift of God to David. He was the voice of God to David. He gave David regular good counsel and insight. And I suspect if Nathan had come in to David and said, David, you've really messed up with Bathsheba, Uriah, this whole mess. You need to confess to the Lord. That David had so blinded himself to the truth of it that David would not at all. So Nathan, knowing David, came in with a twist. He came in to tell David a story. And he said to David, King, there's a problem. In your kingdom, there's a rich fella who's got thousands of sheep. And there's a poor fella who has this one ewe lamb, female lamb. And this female lamb's like the family pet. They love on it, lives in the house with them. Kids dote on it. By the way, that wasn't unusual the way the houses were built. They often kept their livestock, 1 or 2 sheep or whatever in the house. The kids doted on it. It was a member of the family. And the rich fellow with the thousands of sheep had a guest come in, and he didn't want to kill one of his thousands of sheep, so he just went and took the poor man's sole sheep, the only sheep he had, killed it to feed his guests. David is blind with fury and rage. He says, I want to know who this man is. This man deserves to die. 4-fold punishment for this man. He had everything going for him, and he went and took that one sheep And it's at that point where David's able to see the sin in someone else's life, even though he doesn't understand it's his own, that Nathan lowers the boom. And Nathan says, David, this story is about you. This is a parable about you. This is what you did. God's blessed you with so much. You've got wealth. You've got the kingship. He gave it to you from Saul. He's rescued you out of all of your troubles. You've got women galore. And there's Uriah. He's got one wife. And you took that wife from him and killed him in the process. And at that point, David is smitten. And David is repentant. Bathsheba loses that baby as God deals with their sin. But I'm constantly aware in this story of how hard it is for us to see the sin in our own life. We are so much better at pointing out other people's sins. And Jesus made this point. Jesus said, be careful when you judge, because however you're judging them, you yourself stand condemned. We are really good at figuring out what everyone else does wrong. But oh, we are so blind to what we do wrong. Jesus said, how is it that you can pick out sawdust from your brother's eye and not notice you've got a 2x4 sticking out of your own? I don't want to be that way. I'm coming into the weekend here, and I want to be different. I want to be aware of where I fail, aware of my shortcomings. I want to have mercy on other people, but I want to be repentant and try to make things right where I've done wrong. I hope you'll join me in that. Now, next week, I've got some great things planned, God willing, and I'll see you next week. But meanwhile, this weekend, let's really concentrate on not finding fault in others, but discerning sin in ourselves and dealing with it in a godly fashion. That's your video thought for the day.